Dr. Kang Wu stared at the strange metal piece on his lab table. The fragment was no bigger than his hand, but it made his machines go crazy. Every test he ran gave him impossible results. The metal was older than anything humans had ever found, but somehow it contained traces of human DNA. Wu rubbed his tired eyes. He had been working for 16 hours straight on the research station far from Earth. The station floated in empty space near a dead planet called Kepler 442b. 3 weeks ago, mining. Robots had found these metal pieces buried deep in the planet's surface. Now Wu was trying to figure out what they were. The lab door opened, and Dr. Park Yuna walked in. She carried 2 cups of coffee and looked as tired as Wu felt Yuna worked on the archaeology deck and had been helping him study the fragments. "Here, drink this," Yuna said, putting a cup near his hand. "Any luck with the dating tests?" Wu shook his head. "The results don't make sense. Look at this." He pointed at his computer screen. "The metal contains human genetic markers, but the dating shows it's over 50,000 years old." "That's impossible," Yuna said. "Humans only reached space 300 years ago. We barely had fire 50,000 years ago." "I know, but the tests don't lie." Wu picked up the metal fragment. It felt warm in his hands, almost alive. "The genetic signature is definitely human, but it's like no human DNA I've ever seen before. It's been modified, changed." Somehow, Yuna sat down and studied the data on his screen. What if there are more pieces down there on the planet? What if this fragment came from something bigger? Wu looked at her. That would explain the energy readings we've been getting. The scanners show something large buried about 2 kilometers under. The surface captain Lee thinks it's just mineral deposits. But what if he's wrong? We should ask for permission to dig. Yuna said, "You know what the captain will say." Wu replied, "Too dangerous, too expensive. The mining operation is already over budget." "Then, we don't ask," Yuna said quietly. "We use the maintenance tunnels in the mining site. I have access codes from when I cataloged the first samples." Wu stared at her. "Are you serious? If Captain Lee finds out, he'll send us both back to Earth, if we're right. About this, it could change everything humans believe about their history." Yuna said, "This could be the most important discovery in human history." 2 days later, Wu and Yuna used the maintenance elevator to go down to the planet's surface. The mining site was empty during the night shift, which gave them 6 hours to explore. The planet's surface was rocky and cold with no atmosphere. They wore heavy suits and carried portable lights. The tunnel Yuna had found led deep underground, past layers of rock and metal or they had never seen before. After 2 hours of walking, they found a wall that looked different from the rest. It was smooth and made of the same strange metal as the fragments. Yuna placed her hand on the wall and it began to glow. With soft blue light, the metal responded to human touch. A section of the wall moved aside like a door, revealing a corridor that stretched into darkness. "This is incredible," Wu whispered. His voice echoed in the empty space. They walked forward and their lights showed walls covered with symbols and pictures. The symbols looked almost familiar, like ancient human writing but older and more complex. The corridor led to a huge room filled with broken machines and computer screens. Most of the technology was damaged, but some parts still worked. When Wu touched one of the screens, it came to life, showing star maps and navigation charts. "Look at this," Yuna called from across the room. She stood in front of a massive display that showed the galaxy with thousands of marked locations. One of the markers was flashing, and when Wu looked closer, he saw it was marking Earth. The text under Earth said Origin Point and Seedling World in symbols that somehow they could both understand. The map showed travel, routes between Earth and hundreds of other worlds. Many of the routes were marked as completed missions. "This ship, or whatever this is, came from Earth," Wu said. "But that can't be right." The technology here is centuries ahead of anything we have now, unless, Yuna said slowly, unless humans had this technology before. We could have had a civilization that reached the stars, then lost everything somehow. They spent hours exploring the buried structure. It was definitely a ship, but bigger than any human vessel ever built. The ship had laboratories, weapons, storage areas, and crew quarters designed for humans. There were also areas clearly meant for other species with different atmospheric and gravity requirements in what looked like the main computer core. They found intact data storage systems. When Yuna connected her portable scanner, the systems came online automatically. Thousands of files downloaded in seconds, containing information about space travel, alien species, and something called the Builder Protocol. The most shocking discovery came when they accessed the ship's historical records. The records showed that 50,000 years ago, Earth had been home to an advanced human civilization that built ships like this one and traveled between the stars. They had contact with dozens of alien species and were part of some kind of galactic alliance. But something had gone wrong. The records showed a great war that destroyed most of the advanced civilizations in the galaxy Earth had been attacked and nearly destroyed. The surviving humans had hidden this ship and others like it, then somehow made the rest of humanity forget their advanced past. As they read through more files, they found references to an enemy called the Devourers. These beings consumed entire worlds, leaving nothing behind. The Builder Protocol was a plan to hide advanced species on primitive worlds until they became strong enough to fight the Devourers. Again, we're not just humans, Wu said, reading the genetic data files. Were weapons hidden? Weapons designed to fight something terrible. The ship's computer suddenly activated fully, and a holographic display appeared showing a countdown timer. The numbers were decreasing rapidly. Warning, the computer set in perfect modern human language. Devourer scouts detected in outer rim systems. Estimated arrival at origin point in 47 years and 4 months. Recommend immediate activation of all builder species. Yuna grabbed Wu's arm. What does that mean? Before he could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Emergency lights flashed red, and the computer began broadcasting a signal toward space. The signal is going to our research station, Wu said. Looking at his scanner, Captain Lee will know where. Here. They ran back through the corridors as the ship continued to wake up around them. Systems that had been dormant for 50,000 years came online one by one. By the time they reached the surface, they could see ships approaching from the research station. Captain Li Huan was waiting for them when they returned. His face was angry but also confused. The research station had received data transmissions from the planet that should have been impossible. What did you two find down there? He demanded. The truth, Yuna said quietly, about what humans really are. Captain Lee looked at the data on his screen showing impossible technology readings from beneath the planet's surface. Whatever you found, it's classified now. No one else can know about this until we understand what we're dealing with. But Wu said people have a right to know their history. Their history, Lee replied, could cause panic throughout human space. If this information is real, then everything we thought we knew about humanity is wrong, and if that countdown timer you've activated is real, then we have less than 50 years to prepare for something we don't understand. The captain ordered the site sealed and sent encrypted messages to Earth High Command within hours. The research station was swarming with military personnel and scientists. But the damage was already done. The ancient ship was fully awake now, and its signals were spreading through space. In his quarters that night, Wu stared out at the stars, wondering how many other secrets were hidden out there, waiting to be discovered. Humanity had always believed they were alone in developing intelligence and technology. Now they knew they were part of something much larger and much more dangerous. The metal fragment on his desk glowed softly, as if responding to his thoughts. Tomorrow everything would change. Once Earth received the ships, data, nothing would ever be the same again. Humans would learn they were not natural evolution but designed weapons, sleeping until their enemies returned, and according to the countdown, those enemies were already on their way. Captain Li Huan had forbidden anyone from returning to the buried ship. But Wu and Yuna could not stop thinking about what they had found. The ancient vessel held secrets that could change everything humans believed about themselves. 3 days after their discovery, they made a decision that would break every rule. "We have to go back," Yuna whispered to Wu in the station cafeteria. "The captain doesn't understand what we're dealing with. Those files we downloaded are just the beginning. There has to be more information in the ships." Main archive. Wu looked around to make sure no one was listening. The military personnel sent from Earth had taken over most of the station. They questioned everyone and monitored all communications, but they had not found a way into the ship yet. The ancient technology only responded to Wu and Yuna's touch tonight during the shift change. Wu said, "We use the cargo transport tunnels. The guards won't expect us to go back at midnight." They snuck through the maintenance areas of the research station. The cargo bay had a direct tunnel to the mining site that bypassed all the security checkpoints. They wore mining suits to avoid detection and carried extra power cells for their equipment. The ship was different when they returned. All the systems were fully online now, and the corridors glowed with soft light. The ancient vessel seemed to know they were coming. Doors opened automatically as they approached, and the computer spoke to them in their own language. "Welcome back, builders," the ship said. "The archive is ready for full access." The main archive was a room filled with floating holographic displays that showed the history of the galaxy spanning millions of years. Wu and Yuna stood in the center as images and data flowed around them. The truth they discovered was more shocking than anything they had imagined. Humans had not evolved naturally on Earth. The planet had been chosen by an ancient race called the Builders, who needed soldiers for a war that had lasted thousands of years. The Builders had taken primitive humans and changed their DNA, making them stronger, faster, and smarter than any natural species. Earth was one of hundreds of seed worlds where the Builders placed their modified creatures. Each world was designed to develop the perfect warriors for different types of combat. Some species were made for space battles, others for ground fighting, and some, like humans, were made to be adaptable to any situation. The archive showed the genetic changes the Builders had made to humans. Enhanced reflexes that let them react faster than other species, brain structures that allowed rapid learning and problem-solving, emotional systems that created strong bonds between individuals, making them fight harder to protect each other. Most importantly, humans had been given something called creative intelligence, the ability to find new solutions when everything seemed hopeless. Other species could learn and adapt, but humans could invent entirely new ways of thinking. This made them unpredictable in battle and able to use any technology they encountered. The Builders had fought against an enemy called the Devourers, beings that consumed entire worlds and turned living creatures into extensions of their collective mind. The Devourers had no creativity, no individual thought. They were perfect at destruction, but could not understand the chaotic nature of human thinking. But the war had gone badly for the Builders. Despite their modified soldiers, they were losing world after world to the Devourers. The enemy was too numerous and too relentless. Eventually, the Builders realized they could not win with conventional warfare. Their final plan was desperate and cruel. They scattered their modified species across the galaxy on primitive worlds and erased all evidence of advanced technology. The seed worlds were programmed to develop naturally so their inhabitants would not know their true origins. The hope was that when the Devourers returned, the modified species would be strong enough to fight them. The archive showed what happened to Earth. 50,000 years ago, the planet had been attacked by Devourer scouts. Advanced human civilization had been destroyed, and the survivors had hidden in caves and underground shelters. The Builders erased all records of human technology and modified the survivors' memories to forget their advanced past. Only a few ships like this one had been hidden with their archives. intact, waiting for the day when humans would rediscover space travel and be ready to learn the truth. The genetic modifications were still there in every human but dormant until the right conditions awakened them. "We are weapons," Una said, staring at the genetic data floating around them. "Living weapons designed to kill things that destroy worlds." The archive showed them other builder species scattered throughout the galaxy. Some had developed into powerful civilizations that remembered their origins. Others had failed and gone extinct. A few had been discovered by the Devourers early and turned into servants of their enemies. There were species made of living crystal that could survive in the vacuum of space, energy beings that existed, partially outside normal time shapeshifters that could take any form they needed. All of them had been created by the Builders to fight the Devourers in different ways. But the most terrifying revelation was still to come. The archive showed current data about the Devourers' movements through distant galaxies. They had consumed 2 entire galactic clusters and were moving toward the region where Earth was located, faster than the Builders had predicted. The countdown they had seen was not just a warning. It was based on real-time observations of the Devourer fleet. The enemy had learned from their previous war and developed new ways of moving through space. They were no longer limited by normal physics. Estimated arrival at human space. 47 years, the archive announced, but Devourer scouts are already active in outer rim systems. Some builder species have reported contact, recommend immediate activation of all remaining seed worlds. Wu felt sick as he realized what this meant. Humanity had less than 50 years to prepare for a war against enemies that had already destroyed countless civilizations. And they were not alone. Other builder species were awakening to their true purpose all across the galaxy. The archive began, showing them technical data about weapons and ships that could fight the Devourers' technology far beyond anything humans currently possessed. But the weapons required operators with specific genetic markers that only builder species had. Some humans would be able to use them naturally, while others would need training. More disturbing was the information about what happened to worlds the Devourers attacked. They did not just destroy planets, they consumed all life force, leaving behind empty matter. That could never support life again. Even worse, they could convert defeated enemies, forcing them to fight against their own people. "We have to tell Captain Lee," Wu said. "This information is too important to keep secret." The archive suddenly flashed. Red and alarms began ringing. Warning: unauthorized signal detected military vessels approaching the site. Recommend immediate data download and departure. They had been discovered. Wu grabbed a portable storage device and began downloading as much information as he could, while Una tried to find another way out of the ship. But the military teams had surrounded the entire area. Captain Lee himself came down into the ship with a squad of armed soldiers. His face was a mixture of anger and amazement. As he saw the active holographic displays and flowing data streams, "What have you two done?" he demanded. "This ship is broadcasting signals across half the galaxy. Every government on Earth is demanding explanations. We found the truth about humanity," Una said. "The real truth about where we came from and why we're here." Lee looked at the genetic data floating around them. The information was too detailed and complex to be fake. The historical records matched things that could be verified through other sources. But the implications were terrifying. "If this is real," he said quietly, "then humanity is not what we thought we were. And something is coming that we are not prepared to face." The archive spoke directly to the captain. Authorization confirmed. Captain Li Huan, genetic markers indicate builder heritage. Recommend full briefing on Devourer threat assessment. Lee stared as more data flowed around him, showing star maps, military assessments, and tactical analyses of an enemy unlike anything. In human experience, his military training told him to classify everything and report to higher authority. But the countdown timer showed there might not be time for normal procedures. "How many people know about this?" he asked. "Just us," Wu replied. "But the ship's signals have been detected by monitoring stations throughout human space." The information will spread whether we want it to or not. Captain Lee made a decision that would change the course of human history. He ordered his teams to secure the ship and begin full documentation of the archive. Then he sent an encrypted message to Earth High Command requesting immediate consultation with the highest levels of government. The revelation that humans were artificially created, weapons was, about to become known throughout human space. And with less than 50 years before their enemies arrived, there was no time to ease people into the truth. Everything would have to change and change quickly. In the depths of space, ancient monitoring stations began awakening as they detected the signals from the buried ship. Other builder species across the galaxy received the same information. Humanity had finally discovered its true origins. The war that had been delayed for 50,000 years was about to begin again. But this time, the builder species would not face the devourers as scattered and isolated groups. They would have time to prepare to unite and to remember what. The secure communication room on the research station buzzed with activity as messages poured in from every human colony and government. Admiral Cho Minho arrived 3 days after Captain Lee sent his emergency report. The admiral brought with him the largest military fleet humans had ever assembled in one place. Wu and Yuna sat in the station's conference room, facing a panel of military officers, scientists, and government officials. The weight of their discovery pressed down on everyone. Present Earth itself had gone into emergency session as world leaders tried to understand what this meant for humanity. Show them everything. Admiral Cho ordered, his voice tight with controlled tension. The holographic display activated, showing the archive data they had recovered from the buried ship. Star maps filled the air above the table, marking hundreds of worlds where builder species had been placed. Genetic analysis charts showed the modifications made to human DNA technical specifications. For weapons beyond human understanding scrolled past. This has to be some kind of elaborate hoax, said Director Nam Jisoo from Earth Intelligence Service. The technology readings are impossible. The genetic data contradicts everything we know about human evolution. Dr. Kim Sora, the galaxy's leading expert on alien biology, studied the genetic modifications shown in the display. Her face grew pale as she realized what she was seeing. "These changes are real," she said quietly. "I've seen traces of them in human DNA for years, but I thought they were natural mutations." She pointed to specific genetic markers that appeared in the analysis, enhanced neural pathways that allow rapid technology adaptation, improved muscle fiber density that provides superior strength and reflexes. Modified brain chemistry that creates stronger emotional bonds and pack loyalty. Every human has these modifications. Kim continued, but they're mostly dormant. We only use about 10% of our actual genetic potential. The rest is locked away waiting for the right trigger. What kind of trigger? Yuna asked. The archive answered her question automatically. Environmental stress situations that require survival adaptations or contact with builder technology activates dormant genetic sequences. This explains why some humans show exceptional ability with advanced systems, while others struggle. Admiral Cho studied the star charts showing devourer movement patterns. How accurate are these predictions? Can we verify any of this information? Wu activated another section of the archive. The ship's long-range sensors have been monitoring space for signs of devourer scouts. 3 days ago, they detected energy signatures matching devourer technology in the outer rim systems. The display showed real-time sensor data from the buried ship. Advanced detection systems that could see across vast distances had picked up traces of something moving through space using technology that did not match any known species. The energy signatures were unlike anything in human databases. Moreover, the archive had predicted several astronomical events with perfect accuracy: solar flares, asteroid movements, and stellar formation patterns that human science had not yet discovered. The predictions were proving correct down to the minute. "This thing, whatever it is, can see the future," Captain Lee said. "Not the future," Admiral Cho replied grimly. "Just very advanced physics and millions of years of experience fighting the same enemy." The most disturbing revelation came when Dr. Kim analyzed the Devourer conversion process shown in the archive. Beings that were defeated by the Devourers did not simply die. They were changed at the cellular level, becoming extensions of the Devourer. Collective mind. They keep their memories and personalities, Kim explained. But their loyalty and goals are completely altered. They become perfect servants who understand exactly how to fight their former allies. This is why the Builders lost the war. The longer it went on, the more their own people were turned against them. Director Nam remained skeptical until the archive began showing current intelligence about other Builder species awakening throughout the galaxy. Reports were coming in from exploration ships and monitoring stations about strange discoveries on previously unexplored worlds. A crystal formation on Kepler 186f had begun transmitting mathematical sequences. A derelict space station near Wolf 359 had suddenly activated and started broadcasting Builder identification codes. An asteroid in the Vega system had revealed itself to be an artificial construct containing dormant technology. Other species are waking up. Una realized they received the same signal we sent out when we activated the ship. The archive confirmed her suspicions. Builder protocol emergency activation successful. 17 species have acknowledged signal and begun awakening procedures. Estimated time to full military readiness varies by species development level. Admiral Cho leaned forward. How many Builder species are still active? Current assessment shows 23 species survived the war and successfully developed on seed worlds. 4 species failed to achieve space travel and went extinct. 6 species were discovered and converted by Devourer scouts in previous centuries. That means we have 19 potential allies, Wu said. If they choose to fight, the Admiral replied, some species may decide to hide or flee, rather than face the Devourers again. The archive displayed detailed profiles of the awakening species. The Karathi were crystalline beings who could survive in vacuum and process information at incredible speeds. The Vorthak were shapeshifters who had become master spies and infiltrators. The Nethys existed partially outside normal spacetime, making them nearly impossible to detect or attack. Each species had been given different abilities by the Builders, creating a diverse army that could handle any type of warfare. But they had also developed completely different cultures and beliefs over thousands of years. Getting them to work together would be a massive challenge. We need to make contact immediately. Admiral Cho decided Earth Command is authorizing first contact protocols with any species that responds to Builder identification signals. Dr. Kim raised a concern that everyone was thinking about. What do we tell the human population? This information will cause massive panic. People will question their entire identity, their religion, their purpose in life. The Admiral looked grim. We've already lost control of the information. 3 governments have leaked parts of the data, trying to gain political advantage. The story will be public within days, whether we want it or not. Captain Lee had been monitoring communications from Earth. Government buildings are surrounded by protesters demanding the truth. Religious leaders are calling emergency councils. Stock markets have crashed as people panic about alien invasion, but we also have volunteers. Director Nam added, thousands of people are trying to enlist in military service, even though they don't understand what they're volunteering for. Young people especially seem excited about the idea that humanity has a special purpose. The archive interrupted with an urgent alert. Long-range sensors detect multiple Devourer scout ships entering outer rim systems. Estimated time to first contact with human colonies, 18 months. Recommend immediate defensive preparations. 18 months, Admiral Cho repeated. We thought we had 47 years. The main Devourer fleet is still 47 years away, the archive explained. But advanced scouts always precede the main force by decades. They will attempt to convert local species before the primary assault begins. This changed everything. The timeline had suddenly become much more urgent. Humanity needed to not only prepare for war, but also establish contact with other builder species and create a unified defense strategy. All while dealing with the social upheaval of learning their true origins, Admiral Cho stood up and addressed the room. Emergency protocols are now in effect. All human colonies will be notified about the Devourer threat. We begin immediate military mobilization and start retrofitting ships with builder technology. He turned to Wu and Yuna. You two will lead the technical team that figures out how to integrate builder weapons with human systems. Dr. Kim, you will head up the genetic research program to help humans access their dormant abilities, and Captain Lee, the Admiral, continued. You will command the first contact mission with other builder species. We leave for the Karathi system in 1 week. As the meeting ended, Wu looked out at the stars through the station's observation deck. Somewhere out there, ancient enemies were moving toward human space. Enemies that had destroyed civilizations across multiple galaxies were coming to finish. A war that started before human recorded history began. But humanity was no longer the primitive species that had hidden in caves 50,000 years ago. They had learned to work together to innovate under pressure and to never give up hope, even when facing impossible odds. They had always found a way to survive. The buried ship continued broadcasting its signals into space, calling to other builder species and preparing them for the war to come. Soon, the galaxy would see what humans had become in their 50,000 years of hidden development. Soon the Devourers would discover that their ancient enemies had not been destroyed. They had been growing stronger, waiting for the chance to finish what the builders had started. And this time the outcome might be very different. Captain Bei Jisoo stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizon as it approached the Karathi system. The journey had taken 2 weeks, using the fastest ships in the human fleet, but every day counted with Devourer scouts already moving through the outer rim. Behind her, the crew worked frantically to prepare for humanity's first official contact with another builder species. The Karathi had responded to the builder identification signal within hours of receiving it. Their message was simple, but shocking. We have been waiting for you for 3,000 years. Welcome back to the war, brothers. Dr. Wu accompanied the mission as the technical expert, while Yuna remained at the research station working to decode more archive data. The New Horizon carried builder technology salvaged from the buried ship, but no one fully understood how it worked. Yet human engineers were still learning to interface their systems with technology designed millions of years ago, approaching Karathi space. Captain Bei announced, "The long-range sensors show multiple artificial structures orbiting their star. They have been very busy while waiting for us. The Karathi system contained 17 planets, but only 3 showed signs of life. The others had been converted into massive industrial complexes that built ships and weapons. The scale of construction was overwhelming. They had clearly been preparing for the Devourer's return for centuries. A crystalline ship approached them, moving in ways that defied human understanding of physics. It seemed to flow through space rather than fly, following curved paths that should have been impossible. The ship was beautiful, like a living jewel that reflected starlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. The communication came through quantum channels that human technology could barely detect. "We are Karathi Prime Defender Talon. We welcome the human awakening to their true purpose. Please follow us to the Council Station." The Council Station was a structure the size of a small moon made entirely of living crystal that pulsed with internal light. As the New Horizon docked, Captain Bei and her team put on environmental suits designed to work with different atmospheric conditions. They had no idea what to expect from their first meeting with aliens. The Karathi were more beautiful and terrifying than anything in human imagination. They stood 3 meters tall with bodies made of translucent crystal that contained flowing energy, instead of blood. Their faces were geometric patterns that shifted to show emotions, and their voices sounded like musical instruments. Defender. Talon met them in a chamber that adjusted its atmosphere to accommodate human needs. Welcome, builder species. Human. We have monitored your development with great interest. You have exceeded expectations in many ways. Dr. Wu stepped forward. We only learned about our origins a few weeks ago. We need to understand what we're facing and how to prepare. Talon gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic displays showing the galaxy during the original war. The images were more detailed than anything in the human archive. Massive battles between fleets of impossible size, planets consumed by dark energy that left them as empty husks. Entire species converted and turned against their former allies. The builders created us to be diverse. Talon explained, each species was given different capabilities to handle different aspects of warfare. Karathi were made for space combat and long-term strategic planning. Humans were made for adaptation and inspiring others to fight beyond their normal limits. Other species have different roles. Vorthak are infiltrators and spies. Nethys exist partially outside normal, time making them perfect for intelligence gathering and surprise attacks. Zephyrians control gravity and can move massive objects through space. The display showed current intelligence about the Devourers. They had indeed consumed 2 entire galactic clusters in the time since the original war. Their technology had advanced, and they had learned new ways to convert species more efficiently. Worse, they now had builder species working for them. Several species that had been captured in the original war had been breeding and developing technology for the Devourers for 50,000 years. They understood builder capabilities and could counter many traditional strategies. We cannot fight them the same way the original builders did. Talon said, we must be more clever, more unified, and more desperate than our creators ever were. Captain Bay asked the critical question, how many builder species are willing to fight? The news was mixed. 17 species had responded to the awakening signal, but only 12 were willing to commit to warfare. 3 species had chosen to flee to other galaxies, hoping the Devourers would not follow. 2 species had decided to hide on primitive worlds and hoped they would be overlooked. The 12 fighting species represented different levels of development. Some, like the Karathi, had been preparing for war for millennia. Others had only just rediscovered space travel and would need years to build effective fleets. Humans are actually among the more advanced species, Talon admitted. Your rapid technological development and natural ability to innovate make you valuable allies. Many species have struggled to adapt builder technology to their needs. Dr. Wu learned that the builder archives had been designed to work best with human genetics. The original builders had apparently expected humans to be the coordinators of any future resistance effort. This explained why the buried ship had responded so readily to human touch. The Karathi shared their most guarded secret. They had found another builder facility hidden in their system. This one contained partial information about the ultimate weapon the builders had created but never used. A device that could destroy the Devourers entirely. Weapon is called the Galaxy Reset Generator. Talon explained it would eliminate all Devourer technology and biology from existence, but using it would also destroy all current advanced civilizations. Everything would need to start over from the beginning. This revelation horrified the human delegation. The weapon could save the galaxy from the Devourers, but at the cost of wiping out every spacefaring species that currently existed, it would be victory through mutual destruction. There must be another way. Captain Bay said we didn't survive 50,000 years just to commit suicide when we finally learned the truth. Perhaps, Talon replied, that is why the builders never used the weapon. They hoped their created species would find a better solution. The weapon facility requires representatives from all major builder species working together. It cannot be activated by any single group. The meeting was interrupted by urgent communications from both human and Karathi monitoring stations. Devourer scout ships had been detected approaching inhabited systems. They were 18 months ahead of the predicted schedule and moving faster than expected. 3 human colonies in the Outer Rim had gone silent in the past week. Long-range sensors showed the signs of devourer conversion technology being used. Energy signatures that matched the consumption process were detected around planets that should have been thriving. "The war has already begun," Talon said grimly. "The scouts are not just observing. They are beginning the conversion process on isolated worlds. The main fleet will arrive to find an advanced network of converted species ready to assist them." Captain Bay made an immediate decision. "We need to return to human space and begin evacuating the Outer Rim colonies. Every day we delay costs more lives." But Talon had a different suggestion. "Send word to your fleets to begin evacuation, but you should come with us to the weapon facility. We need to understand all our options." Before committing to any strategy, Dr. Wu supported this plan. "The more we know about builder technology, the better we can prepare. If there is any chance of using their ultimate weapon safely, we need to investigate." The decision was made to split. The mission Captain Bay would accompany a Karathi expedition to the weapon facility, while the New Horizon returned to human space with detailed intelligence about the devourer threat and information about allied builder species as they prepared. To leave, Talon shared one final piece of information. The builders embedded something in human genetics that they did not give to other species, a code that allows humans to interface with any builder technology regardless of its original purpose. This means humans can potentially control systems that other species cannot access, including the galaxy reset generator. If it comes to that, your species was designed to make the ultimate decisions about the wars. Outcome, Dr. Wu felt the weight of this. Responsibility. 50,000 years ago, the builders had trusted humanity with the power to determine the fate of the galaxy. Now that trust was about to be tested in ways no one could have imagined. The devourer scouts were already converting human colonies into weapons that would be used against humanity itself. Time was running out, and the decisions made in the next few months would determine whether the galaxy survived or fell into eternal darkness. But humans had never been good at accepting impossible odds. They had climbed from primitive hunters to star travelers in just a few thousand years. Now they would need to accomplish something even more difficult. They would need to unite fractured species, find new ways to fight an ancient enemy, and somehow win a war that had already been lost once before. Commander Park Hyon stood in the assembly chamber of the Karathi Council Station, watching representatives from 12 different builder species argue about strategy. The debates had been going on for 3 weeks, while devourer scouts continued, converting human colonies in the Outer Rim. Every day brought news of more worlds going silent. The species gathered here were unlike anything in human imagination. The Vorthak delegation constantly shifted their appearance, making it impossible to tell how many individuals were actually present. The Nethys representatives flickered in and out of visible existence as they moved between dimensions. The Zephyrians floated in zero-gravity fields they generated around themselves. Each species had spent 50,000 years developing different cultures and beliefs. Some had become peaceful philosophers who struggled with the idea of warfare. Others had remained warrior societies that viewed the coming battle as their ultimate purpose. A few had developed hive minds that made individual decision-making nearly impossible. The main disagreement was about the galaxy reset generator Captain Bay, and the technical team had returned from the weapon facility with disturbing news. The device could indeed destroy all devourer technology and biology, but it would also eliminate every advanced civilization in the galaxy. The Ethereum delegation argued for using the weapon immediately. Better to start over than risk total defeat by the Devourers. They said through their crystalline communication devices, their species had already been nearly extinct once, and survival mattered more than preserving current civilization. The Nexari representatives disagreed violently. They had developed one. Of the most beautiful and complex cultures in the galaxy, art, music, and philosophy that had taken thousands of years to create. Using the reset weapon would destroy everything they had accomplished. Humans found themselves in the middle of these. Debates. Dr. Wu had discovered that the weapon facility would only activate if all major builder species agreed to its use. The builders had designed it as a last resort that required complete consensus, but reaching consensus seemed impossible. The species were too different in their thinking and their development. Some, like the Karathi, had been preparing for this war for millennia. Others had forgotten their origins entirely until the awakening signal arrived. Commander Park tried a different approach. Instead of debating the ultimate weapon, we should focus on conventional warfare. We have advantages the original builders didn't have. We know what the Devourers are capable of, and we have had time to study their weaknesses. Dr. Kim Sora had spent weeks analyzing Devourer technology from the archives. She discovered something important that changed how everyone thought about the enemy. The Devourers were not actually a single species. They were a collective consciousness made up of thousands of converted species from previous wars. Each converted species retains some of their original abilities, Dr. Kim explained to the assembly. This makes the Devourers incredibly adaptable, but it also creates weaknesses. Their collective mind has to manage millions of different thought patterns and biological systems. The weakness was psychological, not technological. The Devourer collective consciousness struggled to handle the creative chaos that came from managing so many different types of minds. They were most effective when fighting predictable enemies that followed logical patterns. Humans are naturally unpredictable. Commander Park said, "That is why the builders made us the coordinators. Our ability to think in non-linear ways confuses the collective mind. This insight led to a new strategy. Instead of trying to match the Devourers in conventional warfare, the Alliance would use asymmetric tactics that took advantage of their psychological weaknesses, hit-and-run attacks. Using unpredictable patterns, psychological warfare designed to overload the collective consciousness, creative solutions that the enemy could not anticipate. The first test of this strategy came when Devourer scouts attacked the Vorthak homeworld. The shapeshifters had prepared an elaborate deception, creating thousands of fake population centers while hiding their real cities underground. When the Devourers tried to convert the fake populations, they found nothing but empty buildings and holographic projections. The confusion this caused in the Devourer collective mind created an opportunity. Human and Karathi fleets attacked while the enemy was trying to process the impossible data about a planet that seemed to have no actual inhabitants. The scout ships were destroyed before they could adapt to the deception. News of this victory spread quickly through the Alliance, bringing hope that conventional warfare might be possible. But the celebration was short-lived. Long-range sensors detected the main Devourer fleet approaching faster than predicted. Their estimated arrival time had dropped to 30 years. The enemy had learned from the encounters with advanced scouts. They were no longer taking time to fully convert each world before moving on. Instead, they were creating quick conversion networks that could be completed by the main fleet when it arrived. Earth itself reported disturbing developments. Several human colonies that had been evacuated were showing signs of Devourer influence, despite being supposedly empty. Somehow, the conversion process was continuing even without direct enemy presence. Dr. Yuna discovered the horrifying truth by analyzing data from the evacuated colonies. The Devourers had developed a new technique. They could leave behind conversion seeds that slowly changed the environment of entire worlds. Over time, these seeds would make the planets themselves into weapons, any human who returned to these worlds would be gradually converted without realizing it. The process was slow enough that people would not notice the changes in their thinking until it was too late. They would become devourer agents while believing they were still fighting for humanity. This forced the Alliance to make painful decisions. Dozens of human worlds had to be permanently abandoned, even though they showed no obvious signs of devourer presence. The risk of hidden conversion was too great. Similar problems affected other builder species. The Nethys discovered that some of their interdimensional hiding places had been compromised. The Zephyrians found that their gravity manipulation technology was being countered by adapted devourer systems. As the weeks passed, it became clear that conventional warfare alone would not be enough. The Devourers were adapting to every strategy the Alliance developed. Their collective mind was learning from each encounter and sharing that knowledge across their entire network. The debate about the galaxy reset generator resumed. With new urgency, several species that had opposed its use were now reconsidering. Commander Park found himself in the position of arguing against the weapon, even though many humans were starting to support it. "We can't just destroy everything we have accomplished," he said to the assembly. "There has to be another way. The builders created us to be better than they were, not to repeat their failures." Dr. Wu had been studying the weapon facility data and discovered something the others had missed. The Galaxy Reset Generator was not actually a single device. It was a network of facilities hidden throughout the galaxy. Each facility could be activated independently to affect only part of the galaxy. This meant they could potentially use the weapon selectively targeting only areas completely overrun by devourers while preserving regions where builder species could continue to develop, but it would require incredible precision and perfect coordination between all Alliance members. The discovery changed the entire debate. Instead of choosing between total destruction and conventional warfare, they now had a third option: selective reset of the most compromised regions while fighting conventional battles in areas that could still be saved. But this strategy would require something that had never been achieved in galactic history: perfect cooperation between 12 completely different species. Each group would need to trust the others with their very survival. No single species could activate any part of the weapon network without approval from all the others. As the Alliance debated, this new possibility reports arrived from human space that changed everything. The Outer Rim colonies had not just gone silent. They had begun attacking inner worlds using converted human technology and tactics. The Devourers had successfully created an advanced network of human servants who understood human weaknesses perfectly. Admiral Cho sent an urgent message to the Alliance: the converted colonies have technologies we don't recognize. They are using our own people against us in ways we never anticipated. Request immediate assistance from all available builder species. The time for debate had ended. The Devourers were no longer a future threat. They were already winning battles using converted humans as their primary weapons. The Alliance would need to act quickly and decisively, or risk losing everything before the main enemy fleet even arrived. Commander Park looked around the assembly chamber at the representatives of 12 ancient species. Each group had survived 50,000 years of hiding and development. Now they would need to work together in ways their creators had never managed. The real war was about to begin, and the outcome would determine not just the fate of current civilizations, but the future of all life in the galaxy. Admiral Cho Minho watched the tactical displays on the bridge of humanity's newest battleship, the Builder's Legacy, as the largest fleet in galactic history prepared for the final battle. The Devourer main force had arrived 15 years ahead of schedule, bringing with them converted armies from a dozen galaxies and weapons that defied the laws of physics. The enemy fleet stretched across 3 solar systems. Each Devourer ship was the size of a small moon, and they had brought thousands of them. Behind the main fleet, came the converted armies species that had been turned into perfect servants who understood exactly how to fight their former allies. Dr. Wu, now an old man, stood beside the admiral studying sensor readings that showed the true scale of what they faced. The Devourers had learned from 50,000 years of conquest. They no longer made the mistakes that had allowed some species to escape during the original war. 3/4 of human space had already fallen to the advanced conversion networks. The outer colonies had been turned into weapons factories that produced ships using human technology adapted with Devourer enhancements. The converted humans retained all their memories and skills, but their loyalty belonged entirely to the collective consciousness. Earth itself was under siege, protected by the most advanced builder weapons the Alliance could construct, but surrounded by fleets of converted human ships. The psychological impact of fighting their own people had broken many defenders. Some had refused to fire on converted humans even when those humans were clearly trying to kill them. The Alliance had managed to unite 10 of the 12 builder species for this final battle. The Nexari had chosen to flee to another galaxy rather than risk their beautiful civilization. The Ethereum had activated their section of the galaxy reset generator, early destroying themselves and a large Devourer force, but leaving the Alliance with fewer allies. Captain Bei Jisoo commanded the mixed species fleet that guarded the weapon facility at the galaxy's center. If the conventional battle failed, this would be humanity's last chance to use the galaxy reset generator. But the facility required representatives from all remaining builder species to work together in perfect harmony. The battle began when Devourer scouts probed the outer defenses of the Allied fleet. The scouts were converted builder ships that knew exactly how Alliance technology worked. They adapted to every weapon and tactic within minutes of encountering them. Human crews proved most effective at countering these adaptations. Their natural creativity allowed them to constantly change strategies faster than the collective consciousness could process, but even human unpredictability had limits. The enemy simply